What is happening, Gothamites? K-Wing here, and today we are talking about CW being dead weight and being sold off piece by piece by Warner Media. And, of course, DC Comics in trouble yet again with the parent company. More right after this. Alrighty, so what's happening, people? I'm K-Wing, and this is your news for what's going on in the world of DC fandom, more or less, as this does basically amount to a lot of issues going on over at the CW, which the CW is kind of blind in thinking that everything's going to be fine. But right now, Discovery, since August, has been hitting the books, and if you don't know what that means, they're basically going over what makes money and what doesn't. And they're talking about getting rid of Rooster Teeth. They're talking about downsizing DC Comics and yeeting people that aren't really, making the company money. They were plans to break up Warner Brothers Games at one point last year, although Warner Brothers Games was smart and was like, hey, we've got a Warner Brothers game that has all Warner Brothers characters. Bugs Bunny, Ben 10, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. It's free to play. It's called Multiverses. It's got Lord of the Rings. And we're going to make a ton of money on microtransactions by having all these different costumes that fans are going to pay through the teeth for, which, yeah, that's totally what's going to happen because, fans want cool costumes for Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. I don't know about Bugs Bunny, but, if they had super bugs, maybe. So, yeah. And they also have Gotham Knights coming out eventually, and Suicide Squad, and Wonder Woman, and possibly Injustice 3. So, they're really smart at showing their hand to their future owners. Whereas the CW hasn't been doing well of late. Batwoman is a bomb. Legends of Tomorrow is kind of losing viewership. The Flash is bleeding views compared to what it normally did, even before the pandemic. And the only cash cow right now is Superman. So here's what's going down. Basically, as they're going over the books and looking what works, what doesn't, Warner is trying to protect their own assets and try to make things a little bit easier when they're put up for sale by AT&T in just a couple months. So stop calling it a merger. Discovery is going to come in and be the owners and runners of Warner Brothers. The Discovery guy is going to be the new CEO. Jason's going to be out. And other people that are CEOs within, subsidiaries of WB will be replaced with Discovery people. It's not going to be this happy, fun rainbow paradise that everybody's saying, oh, it's just a business merger. Yay, business merger. It's no, this is a buyout. And they're putting up a lot of money. AT&T is going to buy some stock in its own licenses and stuff like that. And basically, Discovery is going to run everything. The idea of making Warner Media in charge of everything before was a failed idea that they kind of began in 2016. Everything became under one banner, Warner Media. That was Warner Pictures, Warner Brothers Games, DC Comics, Rooster Teeth, Crunchyroll, and, some other properties. All run by one person. And it's because of this one person that basically DC Comics became really bad, too, is because it was, not really hard to be oh, okay, we're not going to do that. If the CEO says you're doing this to Superman or Robin, then you're doing it. And as we've seen, unfortunately, Jim Lee is just a yes man. He was a part of a tag team with Dan Didio, so I take back some of the stuff I said about Danny Boy. Danny Boy, he stuck to his guns, and he knew what would work with the main DC characters, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, Cyborg, things like that. But when it came to the legacy characters, he would just write them off or try to get them killed or screw them up. But he always did protect the interest of the big Justice League characters. Whereas today, the last 2 years, not so much. Future State was a very interesting gamble that didn't pay off. What they're doing with Robin is not paying off. What they're doing with Superman is really making people angry. Both the Jonathan Kent version of Superman and basically doing some really nasty things to Clark Kent's Superman that I don't even want to get into. So they really have no idea what they're doing. And a lot of this is thanks to the CW, too, because the CW and Twitter have been putting pressure on DC Comics to change and become more progressive, so to speak. And Discovery, as they're, looking over the books, they're seeing, well, DC's not performing as well as it did 2 years ago. And of course, they're going to be like, well, the pandemic is part of it, but is it really? People have been home and people have been able to buy comics more than ever. They've had time to read comics and they're choosing not to. Same thing with the CW. Batwoman argues that people haven't watched the show because they have a problem with who is playing Batwoman, as well as they can't watch the show when it is on the CW app for free. You can watch it the day after. If you have internet, which a lot of people seem to on Twitter, then they would have, an hour to watch the show if they want. But the ratings on the CW app is lower than the Nelson ratings for cable. No one seems to raise an eyebrow to, like, maybe the show just sucks, and no one, whatever side of the aisle they lean on, wants to support the show because it's garbage. I know that's kind of a bold statement to make, but I mean, it's just common sense, people. If the show was really good, I think people would want to watch it and they would talk about it. So, I mean, doesn't really seem like it's a very lucrative property, does it? Legends of Tomorrow is not necessarily bleeding viewers. It's staying about the same in terms of what it does. Superman is soaring high above everybody else and is now almost, I believe it's either the second or it is the biggest rated show on the CW, with possibly either tying or defeating Riverdale. Now, a lot of these shows, when they get chopped by the Warner parent company, they'll end up on places like Netflix or Hulu, and the really good stuff that Warner Brothers knows they can make money and, really entice Discovery to be like, here, look at what these properties are doing over as exclusives to HBOMax. Why don't we invest more in HBOMax stuff? Superman, Flash, even though Flash has gotten weird, it's still not beyond saving. And Legends of Tomorrow, which is just quirky fun. Those shows would probably exceed really well. But if you bring in Deadweight like the Batwoman show and put it on HBO Max when people aren't even watching it when it was on HBO Max, it's not really something that they're going to want to keep around. So they're going to want to trim the fat and maybe use those characters as guest appearances in other DC CW shows. And of course, they've also greenlighted a bunch of other DC shows that are supposedly in production, like a Gothamites TV show, which is very bad timing. Talk about that in another video. But chances are that show's not going to see the light of day. Anyway, they haven't announced cast. They said it's an adopted son of Bruce Wayne. They haven't even said it's Robin, like Dick Grayson. So it could be anybody. It'd be hilarious if they say it's Damian, because it shows how out of touch they are, because Damian is the blood son of the Al Ghuls and the Waynes, not adopted. So that would be hilarious. But I wouldn't put it past the CW because they're dumb. As well as the Batwoman writers are dumb, who are writing the show, supposedly. So yeah, I wouldn't expect any less of that type of stupidity. But the other DC stuff, Stargirl does really well on HBO Max. That will be fine. Most likely these shows will just get cut up and sent to Netflix. I would say that Riverdale would end up on Netflix. It already does really well on Netflix in terms of like after the main season. If it was an exclusive, that would drive subscriptions for Netflix. They really could use that. As well as people would watch like Stranger Things and some of the other shows that they have on Netflix. A lot of really cool Korean programming lately, too, that they have over there. And then HBO Max would have a lot of superhero stuff. Superman and Flash and Legends of Tomorrow and Stargirl, Doom Patrol, Titans. It'd be really good. And I guess if they want a higher budget to do more stuff with Superman, then they totally could. And that would actually cause the series to be even better. There's going to be a lot of reevaluating the different brands associated with Warner Brothers as the Discovery thing gets closer and closer, as it marches, so near. It'll be May before you know it. So, I mean, they're really going to have to either develop some type of battle strategy, because what they're doing, just making headlines and changing characters and things like that, that's not going to sell what Discovery wants to do. So... And we'll see what goes on from there. But yeah, I found this story interesting. I really believe that the CW is dead weight. I could see them easily getting rid of it the way that they'll get rid of Rooster Teeth and Crunchyroll and things like that. They already shed Crunchyroll, actually. Sony has Crunchyroll again. So don't think when these business articles pop up that this is just like, oh, this is just a scare tactic. I mean, no, this is about making money. Businesses want to make money. I know that is a very strange concept for some people to hear on Twitter, but they call it the film business because it's the film business. Discovery wants to utilize DC character properties that is going to make them money in video games, films, animation, comics, and whatever else, merch. And right now, that's not happening. They want really cool things to be adapted. And a lot of the stuff they've done the past, like, 5 or 6 years at DC Comics has been, you know, other than the Court of Owls stuff, but that was almost, oh my gosh, 15 years ago? It has to be. That was quite a while ago, and that's finally being adapted into more media. So, I mean, it's very interesting to me that an outsider that isn't in-house with Warner Brothers understands how important these characters are to so many people and how they can make a lot of profit for your company, that the people in-house just kind of squandered it. And, they reap what they sow, basically. But now I want to hear from all you guys. How do you feel about the CW news? Do you care? Do you think that it finally is happening when the CW has just basically been like the Jerry Springer of superhero dramas, and nobody really pays attention to it anymore? Are you going to miss the CW if it's gone, or will you migrate over to like Netflix or the HBOMax thing to watch your favorite things like Superman and Flash? Let me know in the comment section below. I've got some awesome videos coming your way, so be on the lookout for more Batman stuff. I'm staying true to my New Year's resolution of lots of Batman content. And I'm going to, stay true to my word on that. Also, feel free to help pick topics. I have a poll that went up. Poll's not really working because YouTube's being sus right now. But you can do a write-in, and I will do topics on those videos on another time. But take care, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. And if you're wondering why I didn't really run around a lot as Batman, it's kind of hard for me to talk and run around at the same time. So it's just easier to have like some stationary image and me to talk. That's why the gameplay is just kind of bland, not much going on. It's easier for me just to ramble on like this. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless. Happy gaming. Later, Gothamites.